Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live where we're going to go over how you're going to make 2026 way better than 2025. And when you start 2027, you are not going to be saying the same thing that you say every year, which is the same goal year upon year upon year. But before we get into that, I just want to tell you today's video is brought to you by my telehealth company, joinmochi.com. I stick with them because they have the best prices. They have actual licensed practitioners who can meet with you pretty much day and night. They actually seem to have an understanding of what many of us are struggling with. The ones that I've experienced have been very compassionate and researched, and they're using compounding pharmacies that have been heavily vetted, and I have found them to be amazingly effective. So if you want to get started, now is a great time. Use code 6XR0BB. I'll go ahead and put that on the bottom here. Or you can use the link down in the description, and that'll save you $40. I want to just give a little brief thing on Mochi. One thing that's amazing about Mochi that I've stuck with them is there's this huge criticism, I think it's kind of rightly so, of all the influencers who are getting paid per referral to share a company. That's not how Mochi operates. They've never operated that way to my knowledge since I've ever worked with them. They give every single customer a coupon code. So anybody who's a client of theirs, you save 40, I save 40, everybody gets the same exact discount code. So what influencers primarily get is just the same discount code. So another reason to stay with them is because you can save money as you start looking your best and feeling amazing. And people start asking you, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? What's your secret? You can share it with them and save some money off your future subscription with them. So anyway, today we want to go into how are you going to make 2026 different than 2025, 2024, all the previous years. Before we get started though, if you want to go ahead and put in the comments, where are you from and what is your overall feeling? Like if you have just a thought for 2026 and what you want to accomplish, feel free to put it in the comments. I would love to see what you guys have going on and what your goal is. For my entire life, my goal has been, this is going to be the year I'm going to get to a healthy weight. I actually just threw it away, but I found a note from 2024 and it was me writing down, I'm finally going to get to a healthy weight. I wrote down 135 pounds and I'm going to do this before I turn 40. And I wrote down all the steps on how I was going to get there. And I feel like it was a really decent plan. I was going to avoid spices. I was going to stick to meat. I was going to be part of community. I was going to walk 5+ miles a day. I was going to lift 3 times a week. I was going to work on staying hydrated. All of the good lifestyle things is what was going to finally get me to that 135 pounds. And I didn't get there. And I didn't get there the year before. I didn't get there with The Biggest Loser. I didn't get there with gastric bypass. I didn't get there with carnivore. I mean, I've thrown the bus at this goal of mine to be a healthy weight and finally feel good and have it stick, to do things that are going to stick, not just things that are going to get me there temporarily, get me there quick. Now, I mean, I'm a human being. I tried to get quick stuff as well. You know, I was literally on The Biggest Loser where I lost 66 pounds in like 4 months, 5 months, 4 or 5 months. I lost 66 pounds. So I've done the quick way, but as you keep learning, you're like, okay, I'm okay with slow. I'm okay with healthy. And you keep learning all the healthy things. So every single year for my entire life, I've started the year saying, I am going to get to that goal. And that included 2025. I lost a hunk of weight in 2024. I wrote that thing down in 2023. I have my years a little mixed up. I started GLP-1 in September 9th or 7th of 2024. I lost a good hunk of weight before January 1st. And at that point, I was like, you know what? If this is the lowest I've ever been, I'm good to maybe move on to some other goals. But I still had a good 20 pounds to go. So I still had that on my mind in 2025. I quickly got there by March, and I've been maintaining ever since. So that goal finally hit, finally stuck, and we move on to other things. Hey, Tracy. So in 2026, I have a totally different goal, and I cannot believe it. My goal for 2026 is to get on a post-doctoral curriculum towards pre-med. And I would have never guessed this in a million years. I would have never said that. But because I finally conquered my weight, because I've been able to maintain health, because I've got my sleep back, my energy back, my brain back, I can finally work on what my dreams are. So that's my hope for you in 2026. Whatever those things you're physically struggling with that you want to overcome, whether it's your weight, whether it's your sleep, whether it's your mind, whether it's your energy, whatever that is, I hope 2026 is the year you master it. But for many of us, it takes a different mindset. So for me in 2024, I came in like I always did with these are the lifestyle things I am going to maintain, and this is how I'm going to maintain them. And I did that. I did the lion diet. I joined the groups. I did the sardine fasting. I did the water fasting. I also did this in 2023 and also parts of 2022. So I was very, very consistent. And after the lion diet, I realized, because about 35 days in, I gained 14 pounds of inflammation in 3 days. And I realized that dieting and restricting, there was no further to take it. And it wasn't going to be the sole ticket to getting to my goals. And I think sometimes it takes something for everybody's mind to shift. That's what it took my mind to shift. My hope for you out there is that you don't take it that far. That if Whole Foods isn't working, and then you go low carb, and then you're low fat, and then you go keto, and then you go carnivore, like, we don't need to take it any further. You have taken it very, very far. You have put in the work. You have put in the research. And I don't think you need to take it any further than carnivore. And maybe you're not even that far. You don't need to take it all the way to carnivore, because the warning signs that something was off was there long before. And as you learn it and you look back, you start seeing, oh, how did I miss that? And you kind of brush things off, all in the name of healing, all in the name of work harder. Another thing that is so common, and it's when people do one-on-ones with me and they're coming in, the biggest thing that they're overcoming is this fear of, not fear, this absolute feeling that they failed, and that's why they had to come to me. And they're almost a little bit ashamed. Like, I just wasn't perfect enough, so keto didn't work. I just wasn't perfect enough, so carnivore didn't work. I had dessert at Christmas. I had that 1 month where I just kind of slid. I overeat sometimes. Mine was, I eat before bed, and we're not supposed to eat before bed. That was a big one in my heart. I had sugar-free Jell-O, and that has artificial sweetener and colors in it. That was another one of mine. Every time I would add dairy, I would punish myself mentally, because I was like, this is why you never succeed, Adrienne, because you're consuming dairy. And we all have that thing that we lean back on and we go, well, this is why we're not succeeding, because someone told us that because we're doing this one thing, that's why we're not succeeding. And in all of our journeys, we seem to be looking for another protocol, another supplement, another this, another that. And I think when we look back, we have to start looking at physiologically, why is this deficiency happening? And I think that can help you determine if that's really going to make you successful or not. So I'm not anti-supplement. I take supplements. I take peptides galore. I take nootropics. I love all this stuff. But I'm looking at it in a different lens versus, for example, I've had people tell me they don't need thyroid medicine. They just need to take more iodine and zinc and maybe some copper. And although that might work for some people, I think overwhelmingly, why are we deficient in that? Like, why do some people have thyroid issues and maybe they're deficient in that, and other people are not supplementing that and they don't have thyroid issues? Perhaps it's something else. Perhaps it's your bad sleep. Perhaps it is you're having inflammation because of this. Perhaps you have actual damage to your thyroid. And I don't know that you can take all the iodine and selenium in the world, but your thyroid has been under attack for years and no one caught it. And there's actual damage there, and it's not going to make the difference. Another one I get thrown at, which I'm all for. I think it's great. I think circadian health is great. I think it's wonderful. Not only to watch your blue light exposure, and once you do, you start looking and going, wow, our world is really violent with light, because it is. Like the stoplights, the gas station neon, the fluorescent LED lights everywhere on the gas stations that you can see all the way across town, the headlights on cars, the lights in our house, all of it is pretty violent. And I think it's really helpful to calming the nervous system to be aware of that and to do things like wearing blue blockers or changing your lights out or just watching your exposure, having a good bedtime routine, and then supplementally using a good red light like the Solewell lights. Those are the only tested lights on the market. A lot of companies are working with the best companies they can. They're doing the testing in China. They're accepting that testing, but ultimately the light that's coming to you doesn't have the right power, the right light, it's not medical grade. But Solewell tests for flicker, EMF, the actual frequency and the power before they send any other lights out, and they reject a lot of light. So I'm all for that, but I also think nobody had to do that 20 years ago to maintain a healthy weight. I've worked with some people who've been doing that for years. It still didn't help them get to a healthy weight. I think circadian health can help your hormones come at the right time, which can reduce stress on your nervous system, which can help you with healing, and it's very medicinal. But ultimately, a lot of people need more than light. They need more than fasting. They need more than a diet. So we start looking physiologically, what has been happening? Some people, there's an event that triggers them to just start struggling after that event. And some people, honestly, I hate to say this, but it's showing that there are epigenetic changes that are being passed down from parents, and kids like me struggle their entire life. And anyway, so stop looking at things as your lack of willpower, your lack of perfection, and start questioning if there's something physiologically going on. And can it be healed with red light and circadian and good diet? Or have you been doing those things for years and years, and maybe there's something else going on? So after I did Lion Diet, the next thing was, okay, everybody talks about this hormone and thyroid thing. I should get that checked out. And I did, by a functional holistic doctor. He started me out really conservatively to just take the edge off and see what we could function with. And his ultimate goal was to heal and ensure I've kicked out all the mold and my brain is healed. And it just wasn't quite enough. I was still going through these swings of inflammation every single cycle. I was still going through these swings of fatigue and brain fog. I still was chronically gaining weight, even with those supplements. And so for me, I knew I needed something else. And that's when I heard Dr. Amy Horniman talking about the magic of GLP-1, the different versions of GLP-1, and how that could be an amazing tool in the toolbox for people. Now, maybe you don't need a GLP-1. Maybe you need something else. Maybe you need some metformin. I'm not super versed on that, but maybe you just need some more hormones. Maybe you haven't worked hard enough on your sleep schedule and getting sleep. But often I'm seeing so many things are very linked to physiology. A lot of issues are physiological, and they're not as mental or as willpower as people say. One of the things I look at when I think about this is my husband, whom I love very, very much. He doesn't have to work at all to maintain his weight. He doesn't have food noise. He literally eats whatever he wants. I'm not saying that it's not going to turn into high blood pressure and other things down the line, and some of those things he's on the border of. I'm not saying those things aren't going to affect him, but to maintain a healthy weight and to have peace, he doesn't have to work like so many of us are. And I just look at that and I go, why are we blaming ourselves? Why are we kicking ourselves? Why are we jumping through all these hoops to overcome something and blaming ourselves and our lack of perfection when some people truly don't have to be perfect? Many of my skinny friends, they are not in the gym 5 days a week because they don't have to be, because their body's doing what it's supposed to. They aren't on huge restriction diets like we are. Maybe they are striving towards whole foods. Maybe they are watching their diet soda or their soda intake. Maybe they are getting some sunlight, but they really aren't hard on themselves, and they don't have to be consistent every single day with absolute perfection in an attempt to overcome this. There is something physiologically going on. And I'm not saying let's stop investigating. I for sure think we need to keep looking into why did the epigenetics change in some people, and why, how do we stop passing it on? How do we heal it? I have all those questions. But in the meantime, here are some things we can do. Number one, work with someone who knows how to check your thyroid and your hormones. And I'm sorry to say, most likely it's probably not your family doctor, because they have a different education on it. They're running very vague labs. They're looking at the TSH. That's just about it. They're looking at your CBC. They're looking at very vague things and ignoring your symptoms. Where if you work with someone good, they're going to run your T3 free, your T3 reverse, your T4, your two antibodies for your thyroid, two of the antibodies for your thyroid. They're going to look into your hormones and the pre-hormones and all of that. They may do a 4-point cortisol or stress test to see what your adrenals look like. They may run a Dutch test. They may run all these different tests and really look at you as a whole picture and not just two numbers. And not just your blood count. They're going to look much deeper, and then they're going to say, how can we make this better? And some people are going to look at the labs plus your symptoms and give you some suggestions. And some people just listen to your complaints, your symptoms, look at your nails, look at your hair, look at your face, look at your fatigue, look at your brain fog, look at your sleep score, and go, we can do better here. The person I work with, and most of my group works with, Emily Murphy at Elevate Health and Hormones. If you email info@Elevate Health and Hormones, I think I have that information down below. Tell her I sent you. She'll take $100 off your lab rating. So usually it's $299. That brings it down to $199. And at a minimum, have her check you and hear her information. You could definitely take that back to your doctor and bounce it off them, see what they say. Most likely they're going to say that's hogwash and blah, blah, blah. But you could definitely try and work with someone locally with that information. But there is a difference between compounded medication and what is often covered by our insurance. I was having great luck having my T3 liothianine covered by insurance and my NP, and then they started going after those. Now they just want everybody on levothyroxine, which is a T4 medication, which only helps 2% of the population. So even if they will give you some of these medications, maybe they'll give you progesterone that's bioidentical, maybe they'll give you some T3, it's going to be very, very baby doses typically. And also the hormone, often, although it's compounded and bioidentical, it won't be in the right form to make your body absorb it the best. And so I really suggest working with like Emily's team. She's researched all across the country, what pharmacy should people be going to, where is the good stuff, and where is it the most affordable. Some of the prescriptions we were sending it to like something discount pharmacy, and it was like $7. So she's really done her research. I highly recommend her. And this would make a great Christmas present if you know anybody who is, like, for example, my sister's really struggling. She doesn't know she has perimenopause, and I'm looking at her every day like, you poor thing, please go to Emily. I'll pay for it. Please go. You need her bad. So if you know someone who's been struggling with fatigue, with brain fog, with what I call the cringies, where they're just angry at everything and they're struggling to get through their day because of this, it's definitely worth sending them to Emily. I've also had my kids checked by Emily, and then I took that to our pediatrician to see what the pediatrician would say, and just bounced off what I felt was best for our kids. And I just think she's the best. So highly suggest that. And then, of course, working with a telehealth like Joy and Mochi, where they can get you NAD plus and whatever you need for your journey, they can help you discover that and get that into your hand, sent right to your door at the best price. Like, I got my NAD plus there, and you can get the direct to consumer versions, and it'll be $180 for 1,000 milligrams. I got $189 for 2,000 milligrams from a good compounding pharmacy. So it's a good deal. You can also get a lot of that stuff through Emily. So that's what I suggest. Get your hormones and thyroid checked. That is a great step too. So step one, you tried lifestyling. You are mad at yourself because you're never consistent. You're not perfect enough. It never seems to stick. You're taking it harder and harder, or it is sticking if you're absolutely perfect every single day. And there is no relief. Every day you're on it and you're perfect. And that is the only way to maintain your results. And even then, you kind of feel like you're holding your breath underwater every single day, because if you breathe even a little bit, all of your progress seems to backpedal. Those are red flags that something physiologically is off and could use some help. And for me, I had that I wasn't working with Emily at first. I worked with that functional doctor. When I worked with Emily and I was already on GLP-1, the GLP-1 started working better. I had to go down a dose after working with her because what she offered me and the suggestions she had based on my labs and my symptoms, it was just so effective. My sex life got better. My brain got better. My sleep got better. My hair, skin, and nails has gotten better. It's just even if you need GLP-1 and you need these other things, she can also, her practice can prescribe those as well. But everything seems to work better if you have a baseline of good thyroid and hormones. And this is men and women. Now, men, you might not need as much of the thyroid support, but you may have a testosterone issue, and that is becoming rampant across our country, is that there is low T. So definitely get it checked. And she has some great things too. Like, people have told me in the group that they're having digestive issues. She had great suggestions for that. Somebody with kidney issues. I'm not saying that she can diagnose and treat all of those things. She has a plethora of knowledge. So once for me though, working with that functional doctor before Emily, I had that. And then later on I added the GLP, and then I found Emily, and she was much better at the hormone and thyroid and really got a mix of what I needed. Things just started to get better. And your eyes open to all the things you've been struggling with. And you realize that, honestly, and I'm not making excuses for people, but honestly, there was something physiological going on this whole time. And I was blaming me. And I was telling myself, suck it up. And I was telling myself I wasn't good enough. And I was telling myself I was a failure. And none of those things were true. I'm actually pretty extraordinary. And so are the hundreds of people that I work with, honestly. It's so interesting. You talk to people and they can remember like the 3 times this month that they weren't perfect. And for like me, that was, oh my gosh, I added cream to my coffee and a little bit of Splenda. Oh my gosh, I am just so awful. Meanwhile, the standard American is eating French fries from McDonald's and it's filled with like 10 different seed oils and, and chemicals, and they're drinking almond milk. And if you drink almond milk, please stop. Almonds are not meant to be milked. Anyway, start looking at things more physiologically and less willpower would be my suggestion. What I'm seeing now, as first I lost my weight, and then I started working on my sleep. And I was working on my sleep that whole time. It just wasn't coming. But I really, really honed in my sleep, my circadian, after I lost some weight. Really started working on those lifestyle things because I had more brain space for them. Then I started looking at, somebody mentioned to me, a doctor mentioned to me, a functional doctor mentioned that my body was stressed. And I can see that in my sleep score, and it really confuses me because I've been working on not reacting, really, like giving more to God, taking less on myself, doing the best I can and seeing my part in things, but things that aren't my part and things I can't control, giving that to God. And so when he said I was really stressed out, and I can see it in my sleep score, I was like, but how do you fix that? I have 4 kids, 2 of them are little, 2 of them have some symptoms of autism. Why don't say something so impossible to me? And he essentially said something to the extent of, sometimes the diet we think is really healthy isn't really healthy for us. And he said it in the most like gentle, compassionate way ever, because he actually likes that diet for certain people, but some people maybe not. And then this friend of mine kept sending stuff on Jay Feldman. Love that guy. Go check out his channel. Jay Feldman, not Dave Feldman, although I'm sure Dave is great too. But Jay Feldman helps with nutrition and energy balance and your thyroid and your energy pathways. I just started learning that, and as I look back, I don't see a lot of people saying this, but as you look around the community, you might agree with me. And that is, perhaps you're eating enough calories and perhaps you're eating enough fat on a keto or a carnivore diet. But what I'm seeing is the same metabolic adaptation that happens on people who fast too much and people who stay in a really big calorie deficit. So people with pretty extreme weight loss, people who are fasting, people who are under eating, They have metabolic adaptation where your body slows down its metabolism and its energy production to preserve itself. It slows down its fat burning to preserve that fat to keep it for later. It slows everything down. We all know this. When you undereat, your body slows itself down to preserve itself, to preserve the muscle and the bones, and to preserve your well-being so that you can live a long time, because it feels that you're in a famine and it doesn't know when it's come out. And in my opinion, in a non-scientific, just looking around the community, I believe the same thing happens when you eat low or zero carbohydrates. I believe your body recognizes that there's not abundance. It recognizes it's stuck in a one energy pathway for its being, and it slows everything down. That's just my opinion based on the thousands of people who are struggling with their weight on these diets. Now, initially, everybody just feels great. Usually, they often see a great weight loss. They start feeling the inflammation come off. They feel the energy. They stop having some digestive system issues. And it just, obviously, I still lean carnivore because it feels so good to me. But what I do see is, and looking back, I lost the most hair I've ever lost in my whole life 10 months into carnivore. I see the skin and the nails getting hard, and like not hard like good, but like lines in it, the really thin nails. My hair felt really stringy and cottony. Despite me walking in the sun, despite me eating all that meat, my body signs, and you'll look through some of my videos and you can see like a split lip. If you see that recently, it's because I had to go off on medicine to get some testing done, and it was intentional that I had gone down on my thyroid. But if you look like a year, 2 years ago, before I was ever even on thyroid, there was like constant lip splits, constant skin issues, constant nail issues, constant hangnails. And yeah, so I believe that there's metabolic adaptation if we're doing these diets. And so I don't suggest the lion diet to many people unless you are chronically ill and you absolutely need relief. You just need a break for a second. That would be a good time for that diet. It's the ultimate elimination, where you can just take away everything that is struggling with your body. But I wouldn't stay there forever. I don't think that's enough nutrition. I think it's stress on the body. For me, 35 days in, I saw the 14 pounds of inflammation come on. My food noise went through the roof. I felt ravenous. I had food noise like crazy. I just couldn't stop eating. I was telling myself to not eat 2,000 times a day. It was crazy what happened. So I don't suggest, people are so hard on themselves and they're like, why can't I stick to this? And it's because your body is, I believe your body is telling you that it maybe, I know this is going to sound crazy, maybe you need that energy. Maybe you need that rice. Maybe you need some oranges and some apples, and your body wants that energy. And it's like a relief on the nervous system. Again, go look up Jay Feldman. He explains why it's a relief on the nervous system to give yourself that energy. And I know what you're all thinking, but I'm an addict. And the thing there is that when I look back on me, I felt like an addict, but I'd also been 0 to low carb for 11 years. I mean, like the first thing I cut, or 12 years. Well, no, we're going on 13 years. The first thing I cut was the rice, the grains, the fruit. That's the first thing I cut. Anything with sugar at all was cut before Grace was even born. It was really cut like Biggest Loser days. So of course, every time I would give my body even a little bit of it, it would go. And even on a GLP-1, my body went in the beginning. But today, it doesn't seem to be doing that. And my current people, I'm just sharing my experience. I haven't told you guys this. This was for a different video. But I've been learning that these newer GLP-1s actually improve your digestion. We're getting this bad rap because of semaglutide. We're getting a bad rap. Semaglutide is GLP-1 only, and the biggest effect it has on your digestive system is, it improves your digestive hormone signaling. It improves your brain signaling, but it also slows the digestive system down. but it doesn't support any of the rest of your digestive system. So where does that turn into? That turns into the issues people are experiencing, the gut paralysis, the constipation, the nausea. That's where it's coming because you're only working on one part of the digestive system and you're leaving the rest with something kind of struggly, just slowing everything down. That doesn't really help. When you bring in GIP, which is tirzepatide, when you bring in glucagon, which is retatrutide, it supports the entire digestive system all the way out. So even people on semaglutide are more likely to have gallbladder issues. When you bring in tirzepatide or retatrutide, you are way less likely, even if you have gallbladder sludge, which I've had ever since my gastric bypass, maybe even before. It helps the gallbladder actually properly secrete the bile. It helps the digestive system. It helps the nerves in the digestive system to actually move and stimulate properly in the right timing. So recently I did an experiment. This was supposed to be for a different video, but I'm going to tell you guys. I was slowing down and going off of GLP-1. I was going to see how much I could spread it down and how low I could go since I've been maintaining my weight and everything's kind of good. The food noise has been good. Things have just been good. I've had a lot of peace in my life. And so I was slowing it down. Then came in these digestive issues. And I think I might have talked about that in the last video on how I'm looking at, I have interception, I think it's called, of the intestine, where fast meets slow, and then the intestine telescopes inside of itself, and then that can cause partial bowel obstruction and just a lot of issues, infection, and bad. So the first thing I did then, I'd already slowed down. I was nearly off of the GLP-1, but I just went off it altogether because all we hear about is basically semaglutide. Slows down your digestion, causes constipation, ruins your digestive system is all I was hearing. So I went off of it. The problem got worse. It persisted for a month. I finally went on to retatrutide, and it completely resolved itself within a couple of days. And so then I was looking and I thought, well, this doesn't seem right. I mean, this is backwards. I thought it got better. And so then I started learning that these newer ones, they support your entire digestive system. I'm on a tangent, sorry. Anyway, sometimes there are physiological things that are going on that could need some support that could make all the difference in your life. And maybe you want to work with Jay Feldman to see if there are a different approach than what you're currently doing. Don't do the same thing. The same thing isn't working for you. Do something else. Please stop doing the same thing for 5, 10 years because all your friends are doing it and you were told it was going to work. It's not working for you. It works for them, but it's not working for you. And it's not because you're not perfect enough. It's not because you don't have enough willpower. It's because you need something else in your toolbox. So I would consider researching the GLP-1s. There's a playlist, GLP experts, on my channel. It's not me. It's practitioners and experts, mostly doctors, who talk about the benefits and how to avoid side effects. But maybe you're like, I don't ever want medicine ever for the rest of my life. Check out Jay Feldman. He's amazing, and he can help you work on nutrient deficiencies and gut health and adding foods back that might give some relief to your stress system. That's another thing. Every diet we do, every lifestyle thing we do, it often is actually a stressor on our body, not a de-stressor. And although we do need some stress, like losing weight is stressful to our body. That signals stress to our body, period. There's no way around that. Sometimes the things we're doing are just too stressful and it's causing metabolic adaptation, being too restrictive, being too perfect. I can tell who the perfect people are in my group because their thyroid is really, really low. They're sitting there going, I'm not perfect enough because I didn't get to my goal. And then you look at their thyroid labs and you're like, yeah, you've been doing it hard and maybe for a long time. So look at things differently. Look at them physiologically. Don't do the same things you did last year. Do something new. Join community. Be in a community with people who have what you want. I'm going to tell you, in our community, we have people every day who are saying, I've been at this for 5 years. I've been at this for 10 years, and nothing ever worked until I added GLP-1. And then every meeting we have victories. Every meeting someone has a new low. Every meeting someone got better sleep, better sex, better everything, man. There's a lot of success in our group. We have a free community and we have a private community, and the private community has 8 calls per month. We have a schedule going out through the next semester. They're on Monday nights and Thursdays in the afternoon. So we have a night and a day to accommodate the different time zones and the different work schedules. And we're just going to go over lifestyle things that you can add, as well as are there other peptides you might need, other supplements you might need? Maybe your weight is going really good, but now you're like, man, my energy, man, my brain, man, my inflammation and my pain. Is there something else I can work on? And we go over that in our meeting. But whether you're in the private community or the free community, the important thing in your community is that you stay involved. So if you're a shy person, maybe you don't have to make posts, but go comment on someone else's, or at least read them. You'll learn something new in a good community. Maybe you're outgoing and brave. Put your questions in there. It's not just for you, it's for everybody else to refer to. We created the private community and the free community at radicallyhealthy.com because these social media platforms are deleting people's groups every single day who talk about peptides. It's not even necessarily a friendly topic here. We also have, we do have a Facebook group for now. I'm not going to be the one that deletes it. We're going to see how long till Facebook deletes it. But it's Eat Meat, Lift Heavy GLP group. And that's another great place. But the problem there is we can't talk about dosing. We can't talk about anything that's not FDA approved. We can't talk about things that are supposed to be censored. We can't talk about where do we get direct to consumer peptides. We can't talk about any of that on Facebook. Technically, we can't really talk about it here either. But Facebook and Instagram and TikTok have been notorious for deleting people, banning people, and just heavily suppressing this topic. So sign up at radicallyhealthy.com, even if it's just the free community. If you want to join the private community, see if I have a ticker here. If you want to join the private community, where did I put it? Sorry, one sec. Here we go. Use code RADICALBEGINNING to save 50% off a month in the private community. And that is good through January 31st, 2026. That coupon is good through then. So we'd love to have you there. That brings the cost down to essentially $25 for a month to come hang out with us and have the 8 calls per month. And just our calls are based on it. In the beginning of the call, maybe I'll give like a tidbit. Maybe sometimes I talk a little too much. I'm trying to work on that. But everything that I've learned in the week, anything that's come up in the group, anything that's going on in news, I bring that up in the beginning. And then the rest of the meeting, and you don't have to, you can keep your camera off. But if you want to, most people share what happened this week. What are they working on? What are their challenges? What are their victories? Any questions they have? And the group just shares together. It's not just me. It's at this point, half of the group is they've been there since the beginning. They know all the peptides. They have tried 20 different things. And the other half is brand new. And we just keep having people right in the, it's a great mix of new and people who've been there since the beginning, who really have a base under them and have a lot of victory. We have people who hit their goal and they still stick around to work on the other things and to continue to stay in the mindset of being successful and what they need to do and to not be alone. You know, let's say you've lost all your weight and you're feeling your best. You go out into the world and you start getting comments like, you got too skinny, or what did you do? Or, ugh, are you cheating? Or, you know, there's just so many nasty comments. People just don't get it. So you join a community of people who get it. Like most of the people in my community are still keto and carnivore. Some have added some foods back. We accept everything. I think a vegan would struggle in our group, but totally welcome to join on in. Other than a vegan might feel uncomfortable. Men might feel kind of uncomfortable because it's primarily women, but we do have men in the private group as well. But you just come on in and share what you're doing and be around other people who support what you're doing, understand what you're doing, and you're just more likely to be successful. They say you are the average of the people you surround yourself with. So surround yourself with amazing people at Radically Healthy. Okay, so my next thing would be to give yourself a lot of grace and stop trying to be perfect. I mean, when I look at the things there, people are like, oh, I've been just such a screw up for a whole month. And you listen to them. And if they're being honest, yeah, they ate some cake. Yeah, they had some ice cream. Yeah, they ate some pizza. But if you bounce what they did against every standard American, they still made so many lifestyle changes in that month. They still maintained a higher bar than most of America. And then they came to community and asked for help to dig out of it. That is, again, another level above the standard American to actually reach out and say, I know that what I'm doing isn't the best thing for me, and I want to get out. So I don't think people have to be perfect. I am not saying eat pizza every day. I am saying if you are on a family trip and you guys are on the road and that's what's for dinner and you eat it one time in a month, it's just like you should still be able to maintain good health despite going on a road trip with your family for a few days. I don't think anybody should have to be perfect. I don't drink alcohol, but once people get to weight loss and they get to their goal, some people add some drinks in with their family. And I think as long as you're recognizing that that could be destroying your gut biome and maybe not so great for your brain, but you're just having it with your family and your friends and you're maintaining your goal, you get to add some things back in. That was another thing that's different about having your thyroid and your hormones and your digestive hormones optimized, is that you just don't have to be perfect. And I don't think anybody should have to be perfect. I think it's awful that the standard American looks at obese people or people struggling to maintain a healthy weight and just assumes that they're just not perfect enough. Because the truth is, when you talk to at least people in my group, they're maintaining a higher level of lifestyle than any of the skinny people I know. And they're way more consistent with it. And they're still struggling with their weight. Okay, let's see here. I believe if you start thinking of things differently, you stop requiring yourself to be perfect. You start looking at some of the things you're doing and honestly assessing the amount of stress that they put in your life versus the amount of benefit they put in your life. I think that's going to make a big difference. When I was doing HIIT classes, I was walking 10 miles a day. And on top of that, I was tracking every single thing every single day. That is a major load of stress versus I am going to track my food, but I'm going to allow myself to not be perfect. I'm going to make sure I'm eating at maintenance at least once or twice a week. This is in weight loss mode. I am going to lift 3 times a week at my own pace, and I'm going to go for a walk twice a week. We're still getting movement in. We're still watching what we eat, but we're doing it in a way that is not so unbelievably stressful to our body. When we look at what we're eating, are we eating just beef every day? Or are we saying, I am a human being, I am made for flexibility, and I'm going to have some chicken, I'm going to have some salmon, I'm going to have some bacon, and maybe even we're going to get crazy, add some dairy and some fruit, whatever it is. That's another tip. Next tip. Look at and really evaluate your view of food. We look at food as good and bad. Good and bad. And this is not the moderation talk, just letting you know right here. This is not the moderation talk. But I looked at foods as good and bad. And if I ate anything from the bad list, that's why I'm bad, 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 bad. And now I look at food as, how does my body digest this? So again, looking in a physiological manner instead of a willpower manner. And if there are foods that my body still struggles with, we want to limit those. So for example, to do some of my testing I have coming up to reverse the gastric bypass, I've gone off of GLP-1. So I need to, again, be careful with carbohydrates because my blood sugar cannot regulate itself when I don't have digestive hormone support. So I'm not looking at foods as good or bad. I'm looking at my body is going to really struggle if I have too much fruit. My body's going to really struggle if I eat some rice. So, but when we have digestive supports, now your body knows what to do with that food and its energy, and it's good for your stress systems to relieve them some. It's good for your digestive biome, and so it's good to eat those things. So instead of looking at good and bad, just kind of evaluate, how are you looking at food? Are you looking at food groups as good and bad? Because that is something we need to question. Really, there is no society ever known in history that only ate carnivore. Now, there are some that ate a lot of meat and very little plant, but even them, every time they had access to plants, including in the digestive system of the animals they ate, they would eat the plant out of the stomach of the animals they ate. So Every society that's ever had access to plants ate plants. Again, I still limit almonds. I don't even eat almonds because I've learned how hard they are on our digestive system and about all the you know what I'm talking about. Hold on. Oxalates. But I would eat almonds. Like if it was there and it was mixed in with a bunch of other stuff. I'm not anti-almond. It's not something I'm going to eat every day. I eat as little processed food as possible. It doesn't matter if you are skinny and fit and healthy, or if you are struggling to maintain a healthy weight. Our body doesn't even recognize processed food. It doesn't know what to do with it. It's not natural. It goes through our digestive system way too fast because it's broken down. That causes blood sugar issues in a lot of people. So I'm not saying I don't eat processed foods. I'm saying I definitely limit it, and it's not my favorite thing. And I know that that's not the best thing for my body. But I do look at fruits and rice and potato a little differently these days. I used to look at that as, oh, that's going to make me fat. And now I look at it as, oh, my nervous system could really use that quick, easy energy. My brain could really use that quick, easy energy. My gut health could use the diversity of that food. And so how much of it could I have without disrupting my blood sugar, because I'm not on any GLP-1, and because of the gastric bypass, it doesn't regulate well. So I would look at your food and question your own food thoughts, your own views on food. And I would stop looking at food groups as bad, except for the food group of processed foods, which again, I'm not processed foods. Like for your whole life, your body should have some flexibility to live in the world we live in. But I primarily try to stick to whole foods. So how are you looking at your food? Is that something that needs some work? I'm going to tell you a little sad story. And that is, I never told my kids necessarily they were good or bad foods. But I think because of how I would gain weight, they would associate different foods with, well, if you eat that, you're going to get fat. And if you eat this, you're going to be healthy and strong. And I think some of that thought lining is okay, but I think the level that they learned from me based on how I was eating and based on my belief systems as a carnivore, I think it created some unhealthy internal speak. Truly just fearing anything that has any sugar in it, including fruit. And I don't want my kids to be afraid, because half of my kids struggle like me and half of my kids don't. So I hope to just really work towards gearing them towards whole foods, towards flexibility and not being perfect and not a punishment mindset. And I'm just going to continue to tell them, if we eat whole foods, this is going to make you strong. This is going to make you smart. This is going to make you healthy. It's going to make you a better athlete, a better student. You're going to have more energy to feel good. And sometimes we eat that food at a birthday party or on a Friday. But maybe let's see how we feel. Do you feel your best after you eat that? I have friends, I've told this story before, a friend who lives in the country. She homeschooled her kids. They were part of a church community, and they ate whole foods their whole life. They never had any grain, and they never had any processed foods in their upbringing. What happened to them as adults? When my husband took them out to eat, said, let's get these seed oil French fries. Come on, guys, let's eat the seed oil French fries. They ate them, and they were like, ugh, I feel like crap. Why would you eat this? So it wasn't like this disordered binge fest like people assume it was going to be. It was actually like, why do you people eat this? This does not make my body feel good. Ew. So that's my goal with my kids, is for them to recognize what makes them feel good and what doesn't in the long run, and just be as healthy as they can be. And we still have the, let's not eat a ton of sugar. Let's not binge on candy. Let's not binge on ice cream and cookies. And let's gear ourselves toward, there has to be meat at every single meal. The meat is the first thing we eat, and the rest is the fruit on top, let's say. Anyway. Hi. Yes, I am alive. Oh my gosh. You listened to me at 1.5. I bet it was like, I have a video coming out on the things that you could use in 2026 that could make all the difference. All of them are oral, or all of them are a service, similar to what we talked about here. And I took some of them today. like tesofensine. I really like that stuff. Anyway, I hope that you guys have the best 2026. Again, oh, geez, I forgot there was a banner on. I'm sorry, that was obnoxious. Again, if you guys want to join us, join radicallyhealthy.com, whether it's the free community or the private community. The private community, Radical Beginning, saves you 50%. We'd love to have you. It is truly the best group of people in the whole wide world. I can be sick, and if you watch some of the replays, you'll see Adrienne has been struggling with gastric bypass complications and different experiments for medical testing. I don't always feel the best, but the second that everybody else starts talking, it's all the pain just melts away because we just have the best people in our group. And I bet you'd fit in and do just fine there as well. So we'd hope to see you there. But anyway, I hope you guys stop doing what you did last year. Do something new. Question your thinking. Question your beliefs. Question if there's something physiologically going on here that you haven't addressed yet. And make the changes so that in 2027, January 2027, you aren't saying, well, this is the year. Nope, you're going to conquer it in 2026. And maybe you're going to sign up for pre-med with me and we're all going to become our functional doctors out there and change the world with a cross between lifestyle and medicine. So, all right, you guys, I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we will see you guys soon. Goodbye.